今日はトロントで移民弁護士をしているジェシカ・ユワン先生からコープについてお話をお伺いしてみましょう。
Konnichiwa, minasan. Thank you for having me on the show to answer your questions about co-op visas.
では、最初の質問です。First question. コープはどんなビザですか？
So, a co-op visa is essentially a work permit, but it's different from a closed work permit, an open work permit, or even an off-campus work permit, in the sense that it's used for students who have been accepted to a program that has a work placement requirement for graduation. So, more specifically, it's an open work permit that gives students an opportunity to work full time in a position that is related to the program that they're studying before they graduate. So, for example, if you're enrolled in a hospitality program, you may work at a hotel during your co-op semester. So typically, the work placement has to be pre-approved by your school. And some schools help their students look for placements, while others, you're on your own. The work can be paid or unpaid. But either way, you'll receive a course credit in exchange for completing the placement hours. And the placement hours, they vary from school to school and program to program. Now, if you're someone who has both a study permit and a co-op work permit, your study permit will allow you to work for any employer part-time, up to 20 hours a week during regular school semesters. And then you can work full-time during scheduled breaks like the summer. But just a few things to note. The only students who can benefit from working off campus with their study permit are those who are registered full-time at a designated learning institution and are studying in a program that is for at least 6 months long. So a designated learning institution, or DLI for short, is a school that is approved by the province or territory to host international students. So if you're unsure if your school is a DLI, you can find out by Googling Designated Learning Institution IRCC.
ありがとうございます。では、2つ目の質問です。The second question is, もしコープ先が見つからなかった場合はどうなりますか？
So if you can't find co-op placement, it would be best to get in touch with your school as soon as possible to see if they can offer you any support, like connecting you to employers or coming up with an alternate solution that would replace having to work for an actual company. For example, they might allow you to work on a major project with a professor and complete a major assignment that would be equivalent to completing the co-op hours. This is important because co-op is a requirement for completion of your studies. So if you can't complete or find co-op, then you may not be allowed to graduate.
ありがとうございます。では3番目の質問です。The third question is, コープ期間が早く終わってしまった場合は、学生ビザはその時点で切れてしまいますか？
So no, your co-op permit should have the same expiry date as your study permit. So if you complete your placement hours early and your study permit is still valid, it will not automatically be terminated. So you'll still be allowed to work part-time until it expires. But if this is the case, it would be a good idea for you to start thinking about your next plan. So for instance, if your program qualifies you for a postgraduate work permit, then this is a great time for you to start gathering documents and completing application forms so that you can submit your postgraduate work permit as soon as you can.
ありがとうございます。では4番目の質問に移ります。The first question is, コープ卒業後、またコーププログラムを取ることができますか？またコープの仕事が見つからないとき、コープをしないで別のコースを申し込むことができますか？
So yes, you can always apply to another program that has a co-op placement after you graduate, as long as you are accepted into the new program and you inform IRCC of the change. And depending on your situation, you may need to apply to extend your study permit or get a new one. But I wouldn't recommend doing this many, many times because it's only a short-term solution to working in Canada. And it doesn't necessarily provide any benefits if your ultimate goal is to get permanent residency and immigrate to Canada. What I see, especially in the Japanese community, is a lot of people enrolling in programs with smaller private colleges that offer co-op placement. Many of these smaller colleges don't allow you to apply for a postgraduate work permit after graduation, which means that after you graduate, you're back to where you started in terms of working opportunities, even though now you have a new degree or a certificate. I understand that these private colleges are often more affordable compared to larger institutions like Seneca, George Brown, Humber College. So it can seem quite appealing. But like I said before, if your goal is to immigrate to Canada, going down this path won't allow you to gain the kind of work experience that you would need to immigrate as a skilled worker. But on the other hand, if your goal is to experience Canadian culture and student life, while at the same time earning a degree or certificate, and also be able to work for a short amount of time, then enrolling in studies with co-op is a great way to achieve that.
ありがとうございます。では、5番目の質問に移ります。The fifth question is, ワーホリができない30歳以上の人にとって、コープは海外で生活できる良いビザだと思いますか？また他にビザのおすすめがありますか？
So unfortunately, there's no easy answers to this question. But generally speaking, there are three ways to get a work permit in Canada. First is through a study permit. And this allows you to work part-time during the school year and then full-time during the summer, but only if you're registered as a full-time student. But it's important to note that the older you are, the harder it is to be approved for a study permit. So that's something to think about. The second way to get a work permit is through a postgraduate work permit, which is an open work permit that you apply for after you graduate. So these work permits can be valid for 1 up to 3 years, depending on the program that you graduate from. But you can only apply for one if your school is approved to offer postgraduate work permits. So if you're not sure if your school offers it, you can find out by Googling Designated Learning Institution, IRCC. And finally, the third way to get a work permit in Canada is through a labor market impact assessment. And this is where an employer applies for approval to hire a foreign national. And then once they're approved, you could use this document to apply for a closed work permit. Feel free to contact our office if you have questions pertaining to your specific situation, and we would be more than happy to provide you with an individual evaluation.
ありがとうございます。では、6番目の質問です。The sixth question. コープから就労ビザを取って永住権につなげられると説明するエージェントもいますけど、それについてどう思いますか？
Yes, but it's not always that straightforward. The most common way to get PR as an international student is to apply for a postgraduate work permit after completing your studies and gaining at least 1 year of Canadian work experience. However, only certain schools qualify you for postgraduate work permits. So if your school doesn't offer one, then you may find yourself in a difficult position trying to get a work permit after graduation.
ありがとうございます。では、最後の質問です。Last question. 今、コープを考える人たちに向けて何か意見がありますか？
So my advice would be think carefully about what your immigration goals are before applying to any school. And don't register with a school just because they offer co-op placement. I've said this many times, but if your goal is to immigrate to Canada, maybe consider applying to schools that will allow you to get a postgraduate work permit after graduation, even if the program doesn't have co-op. You'll still be able to work part-time during the school year and then full-time during the summer. But most importantly, you'll be in a better position to gain Canadian work experience after graduating, and that's very valuable for your PR application. But if your goal is to stay here short term while experiencing what Canada has to offer as a student and worker, then have fun and choose a program that interests you.
ジェシカ先生、今日は時間を取っていただいて、たくさんの役に立つ答えをくれてありがとうございます。もし何か質問があれば、皆さん日本語でいいのでコメント欄に質問をしてください。ジェシカ先生が後で質問に答えてくれます。そして、このチャンネルが役に立ったと思ったら、皆さんぜひチャンネル登録をよろしくお願いします。
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.